Okay, let's start with something cool, something pretty profound, maybe even a bit unsettling.
Hmm.
Can political events, the big stuff happening miles away, things that don't seem to touch us directly, can they actually act like a like a toxin?
Hmm.
Something strong enough to push a sensitive mind right over the edge into madness.
It's a really challenging idea, isn't it? Because we instinctively try to keep that distance.
Right, we talk about political stress, but usually it's, sighing at the TV or maybe having a rant with a friend.
Yes, surface level stuff.
Exactly. We keep it separate from the idea of actually losing your grip, of real mental breakdown. It
Mhm.
feels, well, it feels almost illegitimate to let some faraway dictator mess with your sanity that much.
And that assumption that we can maintain that distance is sort of our everyday shield. Sanity feels like staying grounded, even if the whole world looks like it's going mad.
But maybe that shield isn't always strong enough.
For some people, maybe that distance is, well, it's just an illusion. And when political stress hits in a particular way with a certain kind of uh, unbounded cruelty, it can press on the most vulnerable parts of us with a force that's devastating.
Which leads us straight into our deep dive today. We're going to explore this through the story of Virginia Woolf, one of the most, truly essential minds of the 20th century.
Her story is tragic, absolutely, but it offers this incredibly sharp lens on exactly this phenomenon. Her breakdown, her suicide. It seems so closely tied to the rise of fascism in Germany and the horror of World War II starting.
Okay, let's really unpack this. How could the actions of someone like Hitler, so far away, seemingly destroy her? What was the fragile architecture there? To really get how Hitler's aggression could have such a profound impact, we need to understand the ground Woolf was standing on first. It wasn't exactly solid, was it?
No, not at all. Her internal world was. Well, it was shaped by profound trauma and deep-seated insecurity long before Hitler came onto the world stage.
She struggled with her mental health for most of her life.
Yes, and it's crucial to understand why. We know she suffered horrific sexual abuse by her half-brothers, starting when she was only 6 years old and continuing into her teens.
Yes,
Unthinkable.
it is. And then layer on to that just cascading losses. Her mother died when she was 13.
Oh, wow.
Then her beloved half-sister Stella, just 2 years later,
Hmm.
and then her father when she was 22. Imagine trying to build a sense of safety or stability with that foundation.
It paints a picture of a world that, for her, just never felt fundamentally safe.
Exactly. The abuse, she internalized it. She described herself as feeling like a terrible person, and it left her with this deep difficulty in trusting others, in believing that kindness or reliability were
Yeah.
things she could truly count on.
So the very basis of her self-worth, her trust in goodness, it was damaged right from the start.
Profoundly. But here's the really interesting part, the psychological pivot, if you like.
Okay.
Because that internal world felt so unsafe, so lacking, she developed this enormous appetite for its opposite in the external world.
Ah, like a counterbalance. Precisely. She clung fiercely, desperately almost, to things like beauty, gentleness, friendship, intellectual honesty, literature, compassion. These weren't just preferences. They were, in a way, essential lifelines.
External safeguards against the internal fear.
Yes. This faith she placed in external goodness, in structure, in reason. That was her way of managing the internal terror. If the world outside, her friends, her husband Leonard, the arts, principled behavior, if that held steady,
That she could hold steady too.
it had to compensate. The goodness outside had to make up for the deep fear and hurt inside. But of course, relying so heavily on the external world for your internal stability, that's always a precarious position to be in.
Right. Because the external world isn't always stable.
And that fragile structure she'd built, that's exactly what Nazism, this external destroyer, began to systematically attack. Hitler, a stranger hundreds of miles away, was dismantling the very principles she needed to believe in to survive.
It's easy to think of the war in terms of battles and dates. But for Woolf, it sounds like it was a daily psychological onslaught.
Absolutely. Think about the nature of Hitler's rise. The sheer aggression, the constant calculated lies, the way he seemed to control minds. It wasn't just bad politics for her.
It was hitting something deeper.
It was hitting her where she was most vulnerable. Because his actions, his cruelty, it was like a horrifying, large-scale echo of the very betrayals and violations she'd experienced personally.
Wow. Okay, so the political violence felt like a reinvasion.
Exactly. A reinvasion of her personal peace, her mental space, her own trauma involved losing autonomy, trusting people who turned out to be cruel and deceitful. And here was Hitler embodying that on a global scale.
The disregard for truth, the worship of power over compassion.
All of it. It was like watching her deepest fears acted out on the world stage. It was proof, terrifying proof, that the things she desperately needed the world to uphold, reason, principle, kindness, were not just failing, they were being actively destroyed.
And the actual events of the war just kept hammering that home. Poland falling, then France. The Blitz starting over London, the U-boats. These weren't abstract headlines for her.
No. They were concrete, visceral evidence that the world had lost its way. That reasoned society, the thing she clung to, had collapsed, and in her extremely fragile state, she felt herself being pulled down with it. She felt unable to stop herself from following suit.
You can see that in her diaries, can't you? That growing sense of paranoia.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a fear of bombs or a German invasion, though that was real too. It was a deeper fear of what that totalitarian mindset represented: the erasure of the individual, the intellectual, the writer. The very thing she'd used to build her identity and her defenses.
It was like the political chaos was declaring that no boundaries mattered anymore, that any violence, any betrayal was possible now.
Yes. And if the external world, the adult world of nations, could behave with such irrational, relentless cruelty, how could her own carefully managed internal world, her own reason, possibly hold up against it? Even with the immense support and love of her husband, Leonard. And he really was her rock, her final safeguard. Even that wasn't enough in the end. The fears, the voices she started hearing again, the anger, the distress, it just became overwhelming.
The defenses crumbled.
One by one, they collapsed under the sheer weight of that external atmospheric chaos.
And then, the end. After a German air raid near their home, which must have felt like another senseless violation, March 28th, 1941, she walked into the River Ruse.
Pockets filled with stones.
Her final letter to Leonard. It says so much, doesn't it?
It's heartbreakingly clear. She wrote, "I feel certain I'm going mad again. I feel we can't go through another one of those terrible times, and I shan't recover this time. I begin to hear voices, and I can't concentrate." She knew her mind was failing her because of the times.
And that devastating line, "Everything is gone from me but the certainty of your goodness."
Her last anchor. His goodness was real, tangible, right there beside her. But even that profound personal goodness couldn't counteract the scale of the world's madness anymore. It wasn't enough.
So looking back at this, it feels strange, almost wrong, to call Virginia Woolf a victim of Nazism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No bomb hit her directly in her quiet village.
It does sound strange. And yet, the evidence points towards the atmosphere created by Nazism, that pervasive feeling of mayhem, of unbounded violence, of truth completely dissolving. That's what appears to have unbalanced her fragile mind beyond repair.
Which really brings this back to you listening. Her case is, well, it's a stark warning, isn't it? Especially if maybe you're not feeling wholly steady inside yourself.
Absolutely. If your own past includes significant losses or abuses or deep anxieties, if your internal equilibrium feels like something you have to constantly fight for.
Then the political realm isn't just out there. It's not a spectator sport.
No. It becomes especially charged, potentially dangerous, because those hateful voices, the aggression, the lies we see playing out on a large scale, they can't help but resonate with or echo the cruelties we might have known much closer to home.
The big public perpetrator echoes the private ones from our past.
Exactly. It triggers those old wounds. And it means that some of us might have this special, maybe often unrecognized need for the world to show evidence of stability, of goodness, of reason.
We need that external proof to help us keep the internal violations of the past contained, at bay.
Yes, to counterbalance them. So if you find that the political noise, the shouting, the hate, the betrayals, if it cuts really deep, much deeper than just annoyance or frustration.
If it feels like it gets right inside you.
Then recognize that. Recognize it might be hitting that specific vulnerability, that fault line inside you. It's not just an opinion difference. It could feel like a threat to your actual stability.
So what's the takeaway? What do we do with that knowledge? Can't just be about switching off the news, can it?
No, it's more about active self-defense in a psychological sense. It means fighting with maybe extra awareness, extra courage to stay anchored. It means consciously, intentionally bringing in support.
Leaning on the people who care about us. Their goodness, like Leonard's for Virginia.
Yes, enlisting their love, their support, their perspective to help reinforce your own position on the side of hope, of sanity.
And maybe actively seeking out the good stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Intentionally seeking out and cultivating environments, both mental and physical, where reason and gentleness and truth still feel real and reliable, building new, maybe stronger foundations of external trustworthiness that can withstand the noise.
Because the goal
Yeah.
the victory that Woolf couldn't quite reach.
Yeah.
It's making sure that all the unkindness and irrationality outside doesn't get to win an internal victory.
Precisely. That it's never allowed to conquer the wisdom, the resilience, the goodness that still endures within us.
Okay, so a final thought for you to maybe explore this week, building on all this.
Knowing that the external world often fails us, it often won't provide that perfect solidity we might crave. What's one specific thing you can do? Something non-political, maybe a small ritual, or a commitment just for yourself?
Something to actively build up those internal walls of kindness and truth and reason.
Yeah. To make sure that external chaos is kept firmly, definitively at bay. What's your personal reinforcement strategy? That's your deep dive for the week.